Hello, welcome to another episode of Huffer and Friends, a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and in relationships. My name is Huffer, and I'm the lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church in Naples, Florida. And this is called Huffer and Friends because I believe my friends are amazing. They help me flourish at life and relationships, and that me hanging out with them has made me who I am. And I believe that them hanging out with you and you getting to know them will make your life better and help you flourish in those two areas as well, to get better, to grow. We were all pursuing that, what Jesus said in John 10:10, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. That's the full life, the abundant life, what we call the made for more life. So this is what this podcast is designed to help us find and achieve. And so if you want to be along on this journey with us, you can like us on Instagram and follow along and see what we're doing and follow us there. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on Apple and Spotify podcasts and YouTube. So this July, we have a bonus episode because we have a different episode every Thursday. And we kind of go through a rotation, and we have a fifth Thursday in the month of July. And so because of that, I'm doing a bonus episode on some of my friends that they don't know me, but I know them. It's because I listen to them on this thing called podcasts. I don't know about you, but I am an avid podcaster. Hopefully you are, since you're listening to this. But podcasts have become more and more popular over the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, they have exploded. Back in 2015, there were around 200,000 active podcasts. Over the last 10 years, that number has grown from 200,000 to 4 million podcasts that exist out in the world. Isn't that insane? Yet what's interesting is of those 4 million podcasts, only about 40% remain active. And so that's still a little lower than 2 million podcasts that are actively posting, and you're seeing new episodes regularly. But go from 200,000 to 2 million is insane in a 10-year period of time. There's about 177 million monthly listeners to podcasts, and podcasts do an annual revenue of about $3.5 billion. There's a reason why podcasts have become so popular. First of all, they're accessible and they make learning easy. You can do it on the go. You can do it on your run. You can do it at the gym. You can do it on your commute as you're driving here and there and everywhere. Instead of listening to music, you can learn about the history of the Roman Empire or philosophy, or listen to true crime or whatever. Sneeze. Excuse me. Podcasts build connection and community. Like I said, I feel like the hosts of the podcast I listen to are my friends. Like, I love hopping on and listening to their voices and them talking about the things that are relevant for me, that I want to hear about. It also builds community around specialized interests. So you can join a podcast that's focused on ADHD and learn about ADHD, and a community is formed around that. Or you can listen to a podcast for true crime, or a podcast designed to get healthy through the carnivore diet, or for strength training or running or whatever. It builds community around specialized interests. I love it. Another thing about podcasts that makes them great is they're a platform for diverse voices. So many, it creates the opportunity for so many people who maybe wouldn't have had an opportunity to express their ideas or to communicate to a larger audience. It makes that available to anyone and everyone who was willing to get a phone, get a mic, get a computer, make a video, and upload it. Makes it very easy for lots of voices to get into the game. It's great for marketing. If you're trying to start a church or plan a church or start a business, there are so many benefits to creating content for people that are your potential customer. I mean, what's the reasons we do the Huffer and Friends podcast? It was we want to get a lot of free content out there. One of them is we took a sermon series I did on marriage. Took 4 episodes we did on marriage back this last spring, and we created a Save Your Marriage toolkit that we made it available free out on social media for people who are going through a tough time in their marriage. Here's 4 episodes, 4 sermons that are just given to people, free content that could maybe hopefully help you grow in your marriage. There's the benefit for mental health and personal growth. Many report podcasts providing motivation, companionship, and strategies to improve their lives, health, and careers. The last thing podcasts do, maybe you find it helpful for you, is entertainment and storytelling revival. Like, the radio and sitting around the radio listening to people tell stories. Garrison Keillor telling stories on the radio regularly over the years. Like, that's kind of died down in the TV boom and streaming boom. Well, podcasts are kind of bringing it back. It's a rebirth of the radio. One of the biggest genres in the world right now, podcast world, is true crime. Listening to stories, and people tell incredible stories. And so for me, I have really enjoyed getting into the podcast world over the last 10 years. It has it's been vital for me to stay connected, to stay in the know of what's going on in the world, to pursue continuing education and preaching and leadership, to sharpen my saw and grow in my own field of study, in my own field of church planting and being a pastor. Podcasts have been the primary engine for me to do that and reading books. And so if you're not a podcaster yet, I encourage you to start podcasting. If you are, you can get overwhelmed. There's so many podcasts. You're like, what do I listen to today? How do I go about doing this? So for me, I've created a system that helps me stay connected to a lot of the podcasts I like to listen to. I'm going to share that with you today. How do I go about doing it? How do I go about listening to podcasts? And then I'm going to share with you just a lot of podcasts that I like and would recommend for you if you want to start podcasting. Here's a place to start. So first of all, here's what I do. I chose specific categories of genres of podcasts and areas of study that I wanted to continue to grow in, to continue to stay connected to. And so I go to those areas, those genres of podcasts every single day. And so here's the categories for me. I, each day, try to listen to 5 podcasts, and they are the news. I want to know what's going on in our country and in our world. So I try to listen to a news podcast. I try and listen to a sermon every day, to preaching, because I'm a preacher. And so it's good for me to just continue to sharpen my saw and hear how other people are preaching, hear other illustrations, other ways in which they teach the Bible. It's super helpful for me. I try to listen to a podcast on culture. So what's going on in our world, not just the news, but specifically interpreting culture. What are signs of the times? What are some cultural conversations we can have beyond this happened, this happened, this happened? And lastly, discipleship. I want to grow in my walk with Jesus. So I need people who are teaching me. And so there are several podcasts I listen to that are focused on how do you make disciples and how do you grow as a disciple of Jesus. And so those are my 5 categories that I try to listen to. And so I have about 6 podcasts for each of those categories, 6 shows that I subscribe to. And so each day I have a rotation. On Monday, I listen to this news, this sermon, this leadership podcast, this culture podcast, and this discipleship podcast. And so each day I don't have to really think about it. My brain, I don't really have to try and find which one I'm going to listen to and make a decision. Instead, I open up a station on my Apple podcast for Monday. And on that Monday station, I have the news, I have the sermon I'm listening to, that I subscribe to, I have the discipleship and the culture podcasts already there that are assigned to that day, and they automatically upload the most recent podcast every day. And so it's super easy. I just open up my podcast, I hit Monday, and I hit play, and I just start listening. And as I work out, I listen. As I drive and commute, I listen. And that is how I try and get through my 5 podcasts each day to work through that specific content. That's how I do it. Here's some podcasts that I would recommend in each of those categories. And so I'm going to go through these pretty quick. I'm only doing 3 for each category. So write these down, take a look at them, tell me what you think. If you want something different, you like something different, let me know. Comment on the YouTube and say, hey, have you heard of this one? I'd love to hear your guys' insights and some better podcasts or other podcasts I've not yet found. But here's what I do. So for me, the news. This is always controversial. I try to find a variety of news outlets that help me get a bigger picture, a more broad picture than just one station. So Up First from NPR is one that I do pretty regularly, almost every day. The reason why I like it is because it's 10 to 12 minutes long, which is hard for them to do a lot of biased reporting. There's always biased reporting, no matter what you do. But they're going so quickly for 10 or 12 minutes that they try to have a little bit of that, but really they stay pretty close to here's what's happening, here's what's going on. There's not a lot of commentary. It's a lot of reporting the news from America specifically. I also like listening to the BBC Global News podcast. That's to get a feel for what's going on around the world. It's a little bit longer. It's probably 20, 30 minutes. But I listen to all of these on 1.5 speed, 2 times speed, which makes them go a lot faster, obviously. The last one that I would recommend is the Dispatch podcast. This is once a week, and they do a better job they have a spectrum of people on the Dispatch podcast that come from different political leanings. And they're all Christians, and their goal is to try and interpret the news and to tell the news, to share the news, and to give kind of a Christian perspective and worldview with what's going on in the world. And so they are not super attached to a political party. They all have actually really good nuance in their thinking and and what they talk about. And yet, I think as a Christian trying to engage in news, it's a fantastic podcast to subscribe to. I really recommend it. Those are my 3 for the news. Okay, here's 3 for preaching. If you like listening to preaching, you want to learn from good preachers, listen to sermons regularly. This is who I listen to pretty regularly for preaching purposes and to learn from them. So I listen to Tim Keller, Gospel and Life podcast. I know he passed away several years ago, but they still post his sermons regularly. And he's going to talk about how to communicate to a post-Christian world in New York City for those that are far from God. But also be biblically, theologically sound and accurate and have depth. It's hard to find anyone better than Tim Keller. And so I highly recommend him and his sermons. They're phenomenal. They always challenge me. They always edify me. North Point Community Church, Andy Stanley, their preaching podcast. I think Andy Stanley is the most concise and clear communicator. Sometimes it comes off almost elementary, like so simple. Yet it's not complex. Clarity can feel like simplicity, but it's not. When you start taking like what he says and how he says it in the turns of phrases he uses and the word choices and how he condenses things to one little sentence, one little word, one little phrase, he is a master communicator. And I love listening to him, how he goes about bringing things down to the irreducible minimum. Super good stuff. I highly recommend him. And then one of my other favorites is Renaissance Church, is a church plant in Harlem, New York, with Jordan Rice. It's he's a great Bible communicator, Bible teacher. He again talks to a post-Christian community, and yet he does it in a way that is different than how I would do it. And so I just really am edified by him week in and week out. I think he's a great preacher and teacher and leader of the church. So those are great, those 3. Leadership podcasts. I have a lot of these, but here's 3 that I highly recommend. Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast. He's the pastor of the largest church in America, Life Church, out of Oklahoma City. His is definitely worth checking in and following. Carey Nieuwhof podcast is very, very popular. He puts out so much content, I can't keep up. But he has great long interviews, 1.5 hours, sometimes 2 hours, a little bit kind of like Joe Rogan. But he brings in all kinds of leaders and pastors and cultural influencers. I feel like his podcast is a must follow. And the last one for leadership is At the Table with Patrick Lencioni. I am a big Patrick Lencioni fan of all of his leadership books, and At the Table with him. They took a break for a little bit, but I think they're back at it now. But he just continues to produce great content he's a leadership consultant all around the country and the world. Highly recommend. Anything he puts his name to is phenomenal for leadership. Culture. What are some good podcasts that keep you up to date with cultural conversations, cultural movements, what's happening, and how to think critically about culture? Here's 3. First one is the Spiritually Incorrect podcast. My best friend, J.D. Lionheart, or Jonathan Lionheart, him and his brother-in-law, Seth Hart, host the Spiritually Incorrect podcast. And they they are a blast to listen to. They bring in people to talk about of all kinds of things. They've talked about everything from, election stuff that was going on during the Trump-Biden run to things as scholarly as as creationism and evolution, and how do you wrestle with LGBTQ stuff as a Christian, as well as stuff about witches and Wiccans and exorcisms. I mean, they have covered it all, and they do a great job of making it engaging, exciting, and also educational. Super good stuff. The Holy Post is another great podcast. That actually, the founder creator of Veggie Tales, uh, um, what's his name? It's Sky Jethani is the one guy. I can't remember the other guy's name. It's escaping me. Anyway, founder of VeggieTales is the one that hosts the Holy Post. And what they do every week is they look through different events in the news, and they talk about it, and then they will do interviews, different Christian perspectives. They're all Christians, they're all followers of Jesus. So they want to figure out how do we engage culture, how do we engage what's going on in the world from a biblical worldview in a way that would honor Jesus. Super good stuff. And then lastly, Church and Culture is a podcast by James Emery White. And he's a pastor up at Mecklenburg Community Church. And church was very young, very focused on an online presence. And his podcast is always good, helping us look at, I mean, he was like the president, I think, of Gordon Conwell. He's PhD, he's a genius dude, but he's very good at taking, okay, here's this issue in the world. How do we think about it biblically? How do you think about it theologically from a perspective that would honor Jesus? And so I really highly recommend Church and Culture by James Emery White. Last category, discipleship. There's 3 podcasts I think are awesome on discipleship. The first one is the Kansas City Underground podcast. This podcast is going to focus more on how do you make disciples that make other disciples. This is a movement by churches in Kansas City that are house churches that are really focused on life, living as missionaries and discipling other people and becoming disciple makers. So if you want to become a disciple maker and learn how to do discipleship well, follow the Kansas City Underground. The Bible Project. If you are new to faith, if you have a lot of questions about the Bible, this is the best podcast for you, I think. They have a free app you can get. You can watch all kinds of videos they've made on every book of the Bible, on different themes in the Bible. But those are like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, sometimes 10-minute long. They're good. They're overviews, and they have like cartoon animation to them. They're really good stuff. But they also have a podcast that goes way more in depth on a lot of topics. And so it's like these things don't fit into a little video, but let's do a podcast on it. And both the guys, PhDs in biblical theology, in theology in and of itself, and they just do a good job of communicating and teaching hard truths, complex truths in a simple way. So subscribe to the Bible Project. I promise you won't be disappointed by the content they put out. Last one is one I admit I have not listened to this one. My friend, if he was here, he would recommend it strongly. So that's why I'm recommending it to you. It's called BEMA, B-E-M-A. And for 3 or 4 or 5 years, my friend, this was his daily devotion. He listened to the BEMA Project and basically went through the whole Bible. And this guy just taught through Genesis, through the Old Testament, through the story of the Bible, and did a podcast on every single thing. And it's just, each one is really helping you understand the historical context of Scripture. It's diving more in depth into not just topics or themes or doctrines from Scripture, but Scripture itself. So I think you would really enjoy the BEMA Project, the BEMA podcast. So those are 5 categories, 3 podcasts, 15 podcasts I recommended today that have edified me and my friends, and I think that they will edify you. So, man, please comment. Let me know other podcasts that maybe I'm missing that I should have on my radar that I don't yet. Okay. So this is a fun bonus episode for you on podcasts. We're going to be shifting gears here in the month of August. We're going to be focusing on what it means to share your faith. What does it mean to evangelize, to share your faith, to love people far from God, and to pursue the one like Jesus did. So that's what's coming up. We have several fun episodes. My wife, Monica, is going to join us on an episode in August. We have our Q&A time with Lindsay and Andy, and I am hoping that we're able to pull off an interview with a special guest at the end of the month. So just stay tuned over the next several weeks of what's going to be happening on the Huffer and Friends podcast. If you enjoy this content or this channel, please follow along. You can follow us on Instagram, our Instagram account at Huffer and Friends. You can comment on our YouTube videos. Let me know what your thoughts are, things we should be covering and talking about. And you can subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Remember today, friends, that you are made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.